And then I'll just get started and we can send the recording out to everyone when they are ready. Sound good?
That's great.
All right, let me share my screen. Okay. So today we're just covering marketing foundations, kind of overall strategy, set the table. Some of the topics that I'll discuss later won't really be relevant until we understand this basic foundation. So let me present. Okay. So I have a question for you in the room at large, essentially, is have you experienced tactic overload? So a ton of the small business owners I talk to say that they have tried Google ads. They've tried Facebook ads. They started to do an email campaign where they spent a bunch of money on their website, and they feel like they've done a lot of marketing, but they haven't really gotten a lot back out of their marketing, if that makes sense. Is this something that you've experienced before?
Actually, I haven't done Google Ads or Facebook, just the web page and email.
Gotcha. Yeah, but this is a common.
But yeah, definitely feels like it.
Yeah, it's just a common thing I hear from people of there's, if you look for, I need help with marketing, there's answers on you should do PPC, you should do this, you should do that, and it can get kind of overwhelming with the number of pieces and advice and things that you may have tried and didn't work. So really what I want to talk about today is just how we can get a cohesive game plan together. So it's not just individual tactics here and there. You try one thing, see if it works, try another thing, see if that works. It's about understanding how you can think about marketing for your business as a whole and you push in one direction. The example that I always give is, if you have an old-fashioned cart with a bunch of horses and all the horses are pulling in different directions, well, you're not going to go anywhere. You have to pick a direction for them to pull in, and then you'll move faster. So we'll talk about marketing, kind of the 4 Ps of marketing. This is a very classic definition. Talk through the funnel and customer journey, and then break down what a marketing strategy is, what a marketing plan is, and then marketing campaigns. So quickly about me in 30 seconds, I have worked for some very big companies doing some very big campaigns and marketing strategies. I have spent well over $15 million in media spend across all of these different brands. I've managed teams that are all over the world. I've had lots of failures and lots of successes, lots of learning with different types of companies. And really what I do now is freelance marketing for small and medium businesses, because I took all of this experience and said, I'm just making these big companies slightly more money or slightly more engaged with their current customers. It really means a lot to me to actually help a small business. And so that's why I do the freelance marketing that I do. I could make a ton more money if I went back to one of these big companies. But I really love helping small businesses. So the purpose of even this workshop is can I create something scalable that a small business can afford, and that it's a price point that makes sense for me and them. So that's why I'm doing this, is really the summary of it. So today we're going to talk a lot about marketing, but I think it'll help if we think about a specific business owner. We're going to call him Bob. He may look like Jeff Goldblum, but it's not Jeff Goldblum, it's Bob. He owns a hot dog stand in Austin, Texas, and so he'll kind of be our persona as we go through this exercise. So overall, marketing in general, it has a million definitions. Nobody actually agrees on the definition of marketing, but really it's just what you do, where you do it, who you do it for, and why. So people get really caught up in it needs to be these big flashy brand awareness campaigns. We have to stand for something. But really, you're offering a product to a person. That's all it is. And so marketing is the way that you make that person aware of, consider, and buy your product. The number one priority, and this is what I will say over and over in all of my clients, is know your customer. So you may think you have an amazing product or an amazing service, but if it doesn't meet a need in the market, if there's not somebody saying, I actually need this thing, then you're wasting your time. You have to sell a product or service to somebody. There is a buyer on the other end, and they have a problem that they need solved. So always think back to who is your customer. Don't get so involved or in love with your own campaigns or your own products or your own copy or design. It is about, are you helping that person with their problem, yes or no? So really think through who they are, what they care about, and if they actually need your product or service. And why should they buy from you? Most businesses have competitors, and it's important to be able to say, here's why they should buy this. So this is my very traditional elements of marketing. This is what I paid a lot of money to learn in college, summarized on one slide. It's the 4 P's of marketing is kind of how they're referred to, but it's the product, the price, promotion, and place. Really what this determines is, who are you talking to? Who's your customer? Where do you talk to them? And by talking to them, it can be something as simple as a billboard. Even though it doesn't make noise, you're still sending them a message. When they drive by the billboard or they walk by the billboard, you're still talking to them. These are also called channels. So if I use the word channels a lot, it just means, is it an email? Is it a social media message? Is it a text message? Is it a sign that you hold on the corner? All of these are different channels. Then you need to determine what message you're going to them with, what your offer is, and then something I feel really strongly about is how you treat them as a customer. A lot of businesses are very focused on, how do we get new business? How do we get new business? When in fact, the majority of their sales should come from repeat customers. If not them making a repeat purchase, but referring somebody else to do it. And it's very important to, in all of your planning for your business, think about, how do I retain a customer and keep them loyal? All right, so let's talk about the marketing funnel and customer journey. So Bob here, he's thinking about offering a new product with this hot dog stand. And the thing is that he can't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, buy my hot dog, because they don't know who he is. They don't know why his hot dog's better than anyone else. They don't know if they should trust him. Like, where was this thing made? Is it safe? Is it tasty? How much does it cost? They have a lot of questions they need answered before they'll just buy. So a lot of people, again, can get caught up in, I just want to make sales, but there's a whole other piece to that before you can make the sale. This is called the marketing funnel. There are 2 different sides to this depending on if it's B2C. So again, with Bob, he sells hot dogs to people. So he sells directly to a consumer. If Bob sold hot dogs to, let's say, cafeterias and offices, then he's selling to businesses, because then they will go and sell the hot dogs individually to people. But this marketing funnel, it goes from top of the funnel awareness down to interest, consideration, and then purchase. But they have to be made aware of who you are. They have to be interested in it and learn about the product. They have to consider, okay, I want something for lunch. Should Bob's hot dogs be in part of that consideration criteria? Then they have to have the intent and then eventually buy from there. And so when you do marketing, think about this whole strategy, right? It's multiple different pieces that tie into each other and help drive a customer from, I've never even heard of you or what you offer, to, yes, I want to buy this. So let's talk about strategy. It's really, strategy is used interchangeably a lot, and we can get tripped up on words, but really all it is, it's just a game plan for how you're going to reach prospective customers and turn them into customers. It's, what are we doing in the market and how are we going to sell? A strategy should define your actions in a broader sense. It should make sure that, again, all of your activities are pulling in the same direction. A marketing strategy should encompass all the activities you're doing with marketing, whether that's social media, email, trying Facebook ads or Google ads. All of it should pull in the same direction. And a marketing strategy should live beyond the immediate now. A marketing strategy typically lives about 1 to 3 years before it needs to be updated, depending on the industry, depending on how old the business is. For some of my clients, we have to pivot quite a lot because they're startups and things change quickly. But the elements of a marketing strategy is a value proposition. So why they should buy from you, what makes you different from your competitors, your key brand messaging, what message do you want to put out there, any data or information on your customer demographic, their psychographics. Who are they? What do they care about? How do they behave? Why would they even be buying your product or service in the first place? Like, what need do they have in their life that you fit into? And then, of course, your competitor landscape and differentiators. It's really easy to get so wrapped up in just your business and your customers that you forget that there are other people competing for those same customers as well. It's very rare to create an entirely new product or service space. So you have to do research on who else is out there, who else is trying to reach your same customer. Again, it's thinking about what do you do and who do you do it for. So Walmart, they're a discount retailer with everyday low prices. It's a pretty simple value proposition, everyday low prices, but their customer is really anyone who wants cheaper prices on home goods and groceries. Car2Go, which was a car sharing company in North America, they still operate in Europe, but their promise was a car when you need, only as long as you need it. And it was for people in urban centers who didn't own a car or who didn't want to park a car downtown. Casper mattresses, it's quality mattresses without the middleman that you can just buy online and deliver to your door. These statements are really simple, but they're not easy to come up with. If you find yourself talking about your business and telling somebody what you do and what your business is, and it takes you 5 minutes to do it, it means you need to sit down and simplify. Distill everything you're doing down to the essence of, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm offering, and here's who it's for. And that message needs to be consistent over and over and over. Somebody needs to hear a message, I think the rule of thumb is 7 times before it really sinks in and they really understand it. So you have to make sure, it sounds like to you you're repeating yourself, but I promise you people are inundated with so many different messages every day that you can say this 15 times to them and they may only really hear it a couple of times. Another piece to, or another way to think about this is your brand position. So again, what makes you different in the market? What problem does your customer want to solve? What's the outcome that you provide to customers? Your primary messages, and then your target customer. What are their problems? What I found is with a lot of customers, they say they need one thing, but they really behave a different way. And so it's thinking through, what do they say that they want versus what does their behavior show? And I always recommend that you go with their actual behavior, because trying to change somebody's behavior is a lot more difficult than just appealing to their rational mind. Also think through their objections. You know, if let's say for Bob, he's trying to sell his hot dog and somebody says, well, I'm a vegetarian, then you should say, I have a veggie hot dog that I can offer you, right? So make sure that you can address any of the objections or reasons that they won't buy, because we as humans are really good at maintaining the status quo. You asking them to buy something is changing their status quo. And so their mind is going to immediately say, well, hold on. Why should I allow this into my space? Is this safe? Is this something of value? You have to be able to answer those objections. And sometimes they won't tell you explicitly. On your website copy, on your ad copy, think through the objections they may have when they're reading it, and you can add a sentence that addresses that objection, even if they don't say it, even if they don't respond in that way. And then also think through how you reach them and how they discover you. We'll talk about more about this in the social media workshop, but when people ask me, they say, should I have a Facebook? Should I have an Instagram? Should I have Pinterest? My answer is always, does your customer use that? Yes or no? And if that's not where your customer is, then don't bother with it. 1 second, I'm gonna mute you if that's okay. I can hear some background noise. Let's see. Okay, I think everyone's muted. Cool. Welcome to the other people who joined. How's it going? I'm recording this, by the way. I think I gave everyone a heads up, and you'll get a copy of this afterwards. Okay. So let's talk about a marketing plan. So this is where you have the big strategy, right? It's who are we talking to? What are we doing in the market? How will we change their life for the better? Then the answer becomes, well, how do I do it? What's the marketing, right? How do I actually get that into the market? But before we talk about that, I really want to make sure that you've all gone through this checklist of kind of a foundational setup. So every one of my clients I make sure that we go through this process, because without one of these pieces, it's going to make marketing a little harder. So one of the things that I recommend is a brand guidebook. What is your brand voice? What is your primary message? What is your target customer? It's everything we outlined in the strategy, in addition to what does our brand sound like? What is our brand values? You know, if you think about Wendy's as a brand, especially on Twitter, that's very different than JP Morgan Chase. Even though it seems a little silly to think about brands in terms of personas or having a personality, it's still important to identify what you want those to be about your brand and then incorporate it to everything that you do. Because the stronger that somebody can identify and quickly think about your brand, the easier sales will be down the road. Then, of course, have a website established with good SEO, meaning make sure that your pages have the appropriate meta tags, that your links work, you have a clear menu structure. I also recommend to have Google Analytics installed. And if you want bonus points, you can have a Google Analytics Pixel installed, which will make paid ads a lot easier down the road. And then setting up the Google Search Console, which will tell you what are the search terms people are using when they go to your site. And it will absolutely shock you. If you haven't ever looked at these search results for how people get to your website, it will be the most random things that have nothing to do with your brand or nothing to do with your product, and yet somehow they still find your site. It's really fun to look at, actually. Then your customer and prospect database. So where are you storing this stuff? You know, everyone may have an Excel sheet with their customers, and their prospects may live in email. But you should have one cohesive database that says, here are the people that were interested in buying from me. Maybe they got on my email list somehow. And here are the people who have purchased from me. Even if it's an Excel sheet, you don't have to pay for a big expensive program. Just have it in one place that anyone can access and that you can easily access if and when you decide to do targeted ads or email marketing to them. Leads me into my next point, which is email marketing. So this is the most underlooked channel of most businesses. Right now, everyone's focused on social media and, you know, free social media and going viral and all of that, but email marketing works, and it still works really, really well. So have some kind of tool or software to manage your email marketing. You don't necessarily have to be using it yet, but at least have one there and available. And if you can, think through what are at least the foundational things that I want to use email marketing for. Then the next one is, if you have a brick and mortar business, this is really key, which is Google My Business and a Yelp profile page. Yelp is going to ask you 50 million times if you want to sign up for their paid profile and be featured. Don't give them any money. It's a racket. But you can go in and claim your Yelp profile page. You can maintain some of the pictures, make sure that the information is accurate. And it's the same with Google My Business. It's really, really important to make sure that your information is accurate and that you're checking it once a month to make sure that people haven't added inaccurate information or photos that are not the best, because people can contribute photos. So just keep an eye on that, because it's easy to forget about. And then the last piece is analytics and reporting. So set up a time once a month to look through how many website visits am I getting? How many sales am I getting? How much money did I spend on marketing? How much money did I spend on operations and payroll? Really, with marketing, it's key to just get a good feel and a good baseline for what's going on now. So if you only sell your product at physical events, write down which event it was, how many people you talked to, how many sales you made, and track that information. Then you can start to see patterns over time. Okay, so let's talk about marketing plan, which is why you're all here, really. It is, the way I see it is, it's a tactical, actionable roadmap for your marketing activities for the next 12 months. You should get to the end of developing your marketing plan and go, all right, I know what I have to do tomorrow. I know what I have to do every Wednesday. I know what I have to do 3 months from now, and then in December. So it takes work to set it up, but once you have it, it's such a big feeling of relief because you have everything mapped out. You know what you need to do. You just have to follow the plan. So let's take a look at this live. I have a template, and I believe I told y'all I would send it to you, which is absolutely still the case. And can everyone hear me okay? See the screen okay? Everything's good? Let's see, we got the chat. Also, feel free to type in the chat. Hi, Lisa. Feel free to type in the chat at any point if you have questions. Also, be thinking about what questions you may have too. So at the end of this, we will talk about your business. And if you have a marketing plan or if you haven't done a marketing strategy, we can kind of spitball and talk about what that may mean for you. So let me show you what a real life marketing plan looks like. So the marketing strategy here, so it'll look a little strange because I've stitched together a bunch of different marketing plans from different clients. I've stripped out their company names. So the wording may seem a little weird or it may jump around for what it's offering, but you should get the picture. So here I've combined a marketing strategy and a marketing plan, meaning we talk about what's the brand story, what's the marketing positioning, so the brand position, the target customer and personas. Then you'll want to talk about your channel strategy. So what channels are you on and why? You don't have to be everywhere at once. If you want to be on social media, maybe you're just on one channel. You don't have to be on every single channel if that's not where your customer is. For your website, think about your SEO strategy. Do some research on keywords and what you might want to rank for. And we'll talk about that in a different session. But here we talk about if you have a blog, what's the purpose of a blog? Why do you have it? And then social media, again, really think through what this means for your business. It's an easy distraction. It seems very tempting because it's free, but it's not free. It takes time, it takes energy to manage, and a lot of the social media networks want you to pay to get in front of customers anyway. So I would be really careful about leaning too much on social media as your only marketing channel. And then so for Yelp and Google, right, make sure you have a plan for how do you respond to negative reviews. It's going to happen. It happens to every small business owner. What are you going to do? How often are you going to check for these? When are you going to respond? And then advertising and promotion. So here what I like to do with my clients is say, all right, what budget are we spending in terms of the different channels? Are we reaching new customers? Are we retargeting people who've maybe been to our site, left and didn't buy? Let's retarget them with ads and stock them. I'd use these budget allocation percentages because everyone has a different budget. You know, somebody's budget may be $200 a month, somebody's maybe $2 million a month. And so doing it percentage-wise helps when you're changing your budget. If there's any, I don't know how popular this is elsewhere, but there's a program here in Austin called 5 Stars, where a brick and mortar business can kind of get opt-ins and data on the people in there that are going to their physical store. Then have a map of your promotion calendar. So if you want to do a Valentine's Day sale, if you want to do something for the summer, if you want to have an event around Halloween, make sure you plan out your promotions in advance. What is the discount? What are you going to tell your customers? Knowing this in advance will really help prevent the like, oh, we haven't gotten customers in a while. I don't know what we should do. Let's just put something out there. And then I like to make checklists for any promotions or sales promotions. That way you know you're covering all the bases as soon as you get it out there. Again, I mentioned this earlier, loyalty and post-purchase. Think through what your customer would want. What would keep them around? What would keep them buying from you again and again? You can outline the tactics for that. Then email marketing, you can plan out here are the emails that you'll send, how often you send them, and what they are. And then content series. So this helps when you have a blog or anywhere that you're publishing content. I found that the easiest way, and I'm sure everyone has run into this, where you go, I need to publish a new post. I have no idea what to write about. I'm just going to procrastinate. The way that I help solve that is think through as a business, what are the categories of things you want to talk about that make sense for your company? And then say how often you want to talk about them. Then what you do is you take those categories and you just put them in a calendar. So with this client, right, we have an entire year's worth of content planned out in advance. So you don't have to sit there and think, what do I need to write about next? And when I say blog, this could be a blog, this could be a website post. It could even be your emails that you send to your customers. By categorizing everything into pillars and planning out the pillars, then you can get on top of things a lot easier and you feel a lot less stress about what do I talk about. And then you know what is on brand for your business. So keep in mind that a business, you are selling a product or service to a person. You don't have to comment on news of the day. You don't have to, post a funny cat meme just to get attention. Make sure that the content you're doing has a relation to your product or service, that it makes sense, because it may give you some easy likes to do like a funny cat meme, but unless it relates to your business, you're just adding noise. You're not really doing anything to build up your brand or to deepen that relationship between you and the customer. Here's another example of another client where they had different content series, how often we would talk about them, and then again, you put them in a calendar. Same with social media. So have these categories, and for each of these big categories or pillars, say, here's the type of posts that go in each of these. Determine how frequently you want to post on different channels, and then you can make a calendar. So here again, for social media, you could ostensibly write all of these posts in advance, one time a month, schedule 2 hours for yourself, and then schedule them out, and then you're done. You don't have to say, I'm constantly behind on social media, or I'm not posting enough. You can do it per channel. Is this making sense so far? Hope everything's good. Don't worry, I will send out this template for you after the call. So analytics and reporting, this again, just get a baseline of your own metrics. It doesn't matter if you have 3 website visits a month. You should still know that you have 3 website visits a month. That way, when you start doing marketing activities and you start getting 8 visits a month, you know you're moving the needle. Otherwise, you're just kind of operating in a vacuum. Social media, make sure you're looking at your engagement. And then, of course, any paid advertising you're doing, you want to look at the return on investment you're making there. All right. So, and with that marketing plan, the document I showed you was, what's the word? It was the most comprehensive. That's the amalgamation of every single client or multiple clients that I've had mashed into one. Yours does not have to be 21 pages. It could be 3 pages long, and maybe you only have 3 channels. So don't get intimidated by the length of that document. It's just there as an example of here are all the different pieces and what they could look like. All of your marketing tactics will be different for you and your business based on where you operate, who your customer is, what your budget is, and what makes the most sense at each stage of the funnel. Oops. And so the last thing I want to talk about is a marketing campaign. So you have your marketing plan, you're covering off your basic activities like email marketing, social media, paid ads. An additional kind of bonus thing that you can do is a marketing campaign. Really, it's designed to put one main message out into the market and sell that one thing. So think about with Starbucks, their pumpkin spice latte. That's a marketing campaign, right? Or when they did the unicorn Frappuccino thing, that is a single campaign centered around a product launch. Or McDonald's, when they said, I'm loving it, that was centered around a relationship with the brand. They weren't selling a specific product, but they were selling awareness of McDonald's, that it's this emotional thing that people feel. Whether or not people are emotionally tied to McDonald's, I don't know, but they spent a lot of money on that ad. So here's the elements of a campaign. And this will help too when you think through, well, okay, I want to do paid social media ads, but what do I do them about? If you organize them in terms of a campaign, it's really going to help you simplify and plan, so that way you're not just spending a bunch of money into infinity and beyond. So we'll get into what that looks like in a moment, but some of the elements are campaign name, who you're targeting, what the objectives of the campaign are. Sometimes you just want brand awareness. You want people to know that you're out there. I have a client, they sell Yaupon tea. So instead of traditional tea made from the tea plant, they sell tea made from pine trees or the Yaupon plant. They're interesting because people are not aware that Yaupon tea even exists. They don't know that it's a product. And so right now I'm focusing with them on, let's do an awareness campaign. Let's just tell people that this is an alternative to traditional tea, an alternative to coffee. Here are the benefits. And then later on, we'll do a sales campaign of, now that you're aware that this tea exists, now here's why you should buy from us. The other pieces in a campaign include your key message or your promise and why that's valid. Then timeline, budget, and then how you'll measure it. So this is a lot of words and a lot of like esoteric things. What would this look like for Bob, right? Let's talk about good old Bob, who again looks a lot like Jeff Goldblum, but isn't Jeff Goldblum. So if he wanted to do a campaign, let's say Bob, he's a hot dog vendor in Austin, Texas, and he wants to come out with a new product. He has the opportunity to sell, instead of the traditional hot dog, it's a healthier, less preservative hot dog. So the campaign name could be a tastier, healthier hot dog. And the background and context for this is that most people think that hot dogs are unhealthy and that healthy food doesn't taste good. So he's noticed that at his hot dog stand, he gets the same customers over and over. He wants to try to reach a new market with this healthier hot dog. Or maybe some of his customers have said, hey, my doctor told me I shouldn't be eating so much processed meat. There's a lot of sulfates and preservatives in it. I would love to come back more often, but I can't. So this is the genesis and why he would do this campaign. So let's say his target market and audience would be office workers who need quick lunch options in the Austin capital area, because Bob, he has a food truck stand. He can only be in that one physical area. And this is really important for you in thinking about your customers. Even if you sell a pillow, everyone needs a pillow to sleep at night, but you should find a target market who is more specific than just everyone who sleeps. Because then when people see it, they go, oh, that's me. They really understand me. This product is for me specifically. I'm going to buy. So it may scare you a little bit to narrow down who you're selling to, but I promise you it really increases your sales when you get very specific as to who you're selling to. So Bob's objectives, he wants to increase awareness of his hot dog stand in general and increase sales of this new sulfate-free hot dog that he's introducing. And the key messages and promise that he wants to put out there is that it has the same taste. You won't really tell the difference. It's better for you. It's a healthier option for lunch that's fast and convenient. The validation for this promise, again, you as a brand can make any claim you want. Why should somebody believe you? So he can promise that you'll get your lunch in less than 20 minutes, that his supplier is Frank's Super Happy Pigs that don't have any, nasty stuff in there. And it tastes the same because it's cooked on the same greasy griddle with the same toppings. I never thought I would use the words hot dog so many times in a presentation, but here we are. So the offer and call to action that Bob could use is get $1 off your next healthier hot dog. You can get the coupon from our site. Or maybe he hands out posters and flyers in person. The timeline, again here, don't get trapped into thinking you have to do marketing or a campaign forever. If you put a time limit on it, it really helps focus you and it really helps prevent you from just kind of leaking money slowly over time. So here, let's say Bob wants to advertise from March 1st to April 30th for this new product. And the budget, maybe he estimates it'll be $500 for some flyers and posters and social media ads. And how he'll measure the campaign, how will he know it's successful, is what are the overall sales of his food truck? So is he even getting more customers in general? And then what are the sales of this new product? And then the creative design. So I really recommend finding a designer who can help you get a consistent design. Just like I spoke about with the brand voice and messages, your brand design should be pretty consistent and you can communicate quite a lot with the design. Here's where I will admit that I am not a designer at all. I have people I work with who can help me out on all these things, but I'm just not very good at design, but it's a very important element. So here Bob can use a happy smiling pig to kind of emphasize that, this is a better option. And maybe Frank's Happy Pigs are really well known in Austin for being a quality product without a lot of additives. If he uses their logo on some of the posters or maybe on the signs, then people will know, oh, this is his supplier. It's giving that validation and credibility to his new product. So then it also is good to think about the funnel. So again, you can't just say, hi, I'm Bob, will you buy a hot dog? You have to say, hi, I'm Bob. I'm selling different hot dogs. They're very tasty. It's easy to get. They're not expensive. Here's where you can get it. Now do you want to buy a hot dog? People need to know all of that information first. And so it's again, an easy trap to fall into when you're spending money on ads that say buy now, buy now, buy now, but they don't know who you are, and they don't know why. So here, for example, for Bob, he can, in terms of awareness, maybe he puts his hot dog stand in a new place. Maybe he puts it right near the Capitol grounds. Maybe he makes a little A-frame sign that says, he has a healthier hot dog. He could leave postcards in coffee shops around the areas, because if you get your coffee in the morning, you'll need a lunch later on. And so maybe you'll remember that you saw that postcard. Or he can post about it on his social media or email. Awareness counts not just for prospective customers, but also your own customers. If you have a new product, they need to know about it as well. So don't forget about them. Then consideration. So why would somebody consider this new hot dog? When would they see it? So targeted social media ads, maybe you geofence the Capitol grounds, maybe you tell your current customers about it. And then for purchase, this is where you really incent them to try it. Here's where you can pass out a printed coupon or have that coupon on the website. Whatever your promotional value is there, that will help drive that purchase. All right, so in summary, look how happy Bob is. He has all of his planning done. He knows what's going on. He knows his brand. Make sure that you have all of this stuff documented. You may have it all up in your head, but I promise you it's so much easier once you get it out onto paper, defined clearly, because then when you start working with other people, if you hire a freelancer to help with any aspect of this, you can give them your brand guidelines document. You can give them your marketing plan. They'll understand in a broader context where you're trying to go. Then the next part is plan all of this stuff and then go do. Sometimes the hardest part is just getting started, and it's okay to make a plan even if, again, it's 1 page long, as long as it's there and you can start executing on it. So that was Bob's story, all of that fun stuff. So now I'd like to take a few of your questions. So when I say your questions, it can be, I don't know who my target customer is. I don't know what my main message is. I would just like to hear, from you guys, is there something that you've been thinking about in terms of what should I be doing with my marketing? What messages should I be putting out there? And you can either type in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. All right, Lisa asks, does every promotion have to come with a sale? No, you can lead people down the purchase path and purchase funnel without having to offer a discount, without having to offer a promotion. I even warn new brands against that, because then you're training people to wait for a sale. So there's companies that I buy from where, every month you get a 10% off coupon. I just wait until I get that coupon until I buy. So there are ways to drive promotion without offering a discount. Although it doesn't hurt to maybe increase your prices and then offer a sale. There are lots of ways to go about this. Any other thoughts, questions, points of clarification? Templates or suggestions for programs. Good question, Alex. So I do have a few templates. I'm trying to think through what I have set up. I would take this, the campaign elements here that I outlined and use that initially. And then I will look through all the documents that I have and send you some things on programs. I'm trying to think through. I have some B2B ones, and then I think some B2C. So I'll see what I have and send through. Yeah, no problem. I am happy to share. I have a whole bunch of, a big batch of templates for pretty much anything related to marketing. So that's what we'll go through with all of these. But really just getting this stuff out on paper, writing out, even who we are, what we do. Let me show you guys what a brand guidebook looks like. Oh, I actually don't have a generic one. It has client names in it. I will send you guys a stripped out client name brand guidebook. It's a really important foundational piece that when you say, again, what is my elevator pitch? Can I describe my business consistently every single time I talk about it? That's just one of the basic things that a lot of us don't nail down. Lisa asks, or she says, I never check most of the newsletters I subscribe to. I always hear that email marketing is big, and how do you get people to actually notice? So you may not check those, but other people might. One of the traps that we can fall into as marketers, especially when it's a business that we run that we would be a customer of, is assuming that everyone will do the same behavior that we do. And that's not true. People take all kinds of different actions. People may love opening and looking at emails, but would never look at a social ad or would never look at social media. There's some people who only look at social media and have 20,000 outstanding emails. So it completely depends on the person and the customer. Email marketing can be really useful, and you can get people to notice by adding value. So don't spam them with useless newsletters. We've all gotten a million newsletters where you're like, I don't care. This is just garbage and noise. But if you actually give them something of value, whether it's telling them about a sale, giving them an interesting piece of content that they would actually find useful and interesting, or even just a check-in note. So if you have a business where it's one-on-one, so similar to me, I do marketing consulting, sometimes I just send an email to people on my list and say, hey, how's it going? Do you have any questions? What are you dealing with right now? You don't have to have a big fancy newsletter template. You don't have to have a header, with the graphics and social media follow us buttons. The most successful emails I've ever sent on behalf of clients, whether it's asking them to buy something, telling them the latest news, whatever it is been plain text email. So don't get intimidated by, I have to do this huge, fancy newsletter and update it with like 15 different content blocks. That's not the case. You can just send them a really clear, simple message that, again, is it worth their time to open? And then they'll start opening more of your messages. And you can keep it really, really simple. So don't be intimidated by everyone else is sending 50 million emails, but there's still that customer who wants to hear from you, or there's still that prospect who wants to hear from you. So I would say start small. Lisa, you may be surprised with the results that you get when you start sending things out. The only thing I will caution you against is when you start sending emails to a list that you haven't emailed much in the past, just give them a heads up. Say, hey, I'm going to do a little more email marketing. You may see more messages from me. Feel free to unsubscribe right now if you want to. That way, you're not going to spam them and they know it's coming up. It's just a courtesy, right? It's like a friend. If you decided to text them a couple of times a month to check in and see how they're doing, it would be weird if you just started doing that out of the blue. So it's fine to just say, hey, I'm going to be messaging you more. Give them the chance to opt out. If they don't want to do it, then fine, they don't have to hear from you. All right, any other questions? Lisa says, that's good to hear. I was afraid I was not emailing enough since I only send out the newsletter once in a while. Yep, only send out the newsletter if you have something to say. So that's really my rule of thumb, is if you have something new or interesting to talk about, you can send it out. And if not, then it's okay to skip a month. It's not going to hurt anything. Nobody's going to sit and wonder, man, I haven't gotten an email from Lisa in a while. I wonder what she's up to. It's the same with social media. People have this fear that you have to constantly be producing content on social media. But if it's not good quality, then they'll interact with it less and the algorithms will show it to them less. We'll talk about that more in the social media workshop, but don't be afraid to not say something as a brand. It's okay if you don't have anything of value. Alex asked about programs or software, and you guys can pipe in here too of what you like to use. Lisa says she uses MailChimp. I use MailChimp for one of my businesses. I am a big fan of this one called Drip. It's called getdrip.com. I'll type it in the chat. That one is nice because it does a little more email automation. If you have an online store, it plugs into your online store really nicely. I've been a big fan of that one. I will say there's no wrong answer with email software. Do a little research on pricing and what your needs really are. But I wouldn't there's no bad products out there. You know, the marketplace is so competitive right now that everyone pretty much has the same features. So you're not going to get locked into a bad answer. You can always export your list to somebody else. Fabian says he uses HubSpot, which has a marker that shows if folks open the email. Yeah, HubSpot is awesome. It's really robust. It's great if you produce a lot of content too. So it just depends on your business as to what tools you like to use. You know, it's funny because even my consulting business, I just use my personal email. So I have a domain, but I host it through Google Enterprise. And right now my list is small enough that I just use my personal email. You guys probably got the email invite for this from my personal one. I don't really have a system or program set up for it. And I don't know that I will need one eventually. So. All right. Any other questions? I forgot to show this lovely picture of Bob at the end. Again, not Jeff Goldblum. Don't tell him. I don't want him to sue me. I use him in a lot of my presentations. All right. Well, I think that means we are good. Thank you guys for coming and participating. I would love your feedback on this. I will send out the recording here relatively shortly, as well as the slides and that big giant marketing template. Let's see, you're welcome, Fabian. And then Lisa says, how do we find out which social media platforms your customers use the most? Ask them. Just ask what they use and say, hey, do you look at Facebook? Do you look at Instagram? Do you love Pinterest? Do you like Reddit? The thing that I'll always push you guys on is talk to your customers, because they will tell you the answers. You can think you know the answer all day long, but your customers really know the answers. So that's a big one. All right, well, we will talk in the next one. I think the next workshop is scheduled for next Tuesday or next Thursday. Again, I will send out the recording afterwards, but you're always welcome to bring your questions in advance and we can answer them live. Thanks y'all for joining. I appreciate it.